Hi friends, this is Ashley Latecki Ellenboss with Skyhouse Herb School and Apothecary. And today I'll be doing a similar thing as to my last talk where I'll be taking three concepts and weaving them together. So today's three concepts are sage, skin, and aging. And this was all kind of sparked because of two things. The first one was that in our current herbal apprenticeship program in the year one course, we are doing our plant diets and we're doing the sage is our plant diet. So we've been talking a lot about sage in the classroom. And the second reason is because of aging. I, I was looking down at my legs this morning and I looked down at my legs and I was looking at my skin and I was just like, wow. Like I remember these legs when I was 10, and I remember being so self-conscious about my knees. I just didn't like the way my knees looked, so I didn't like to wear shorts. Which looking back, I can't believe that was what I was worried about. And then I remember my legs at 20 and just remember kind of what my skin looked like and, being different places and just the strength and the tone and the way my skin looked at 20. And then I was thinking about 30 and gosh, yeah, like, just looking down and again, like seeing the signs of all the sun that I've taken in and, the wear and tear on my 30-year-old legs. And I was looking down at my 40-year-old legs and I was just like, oh gosh, um, the skin, it's aging. Like these legs they're the same, but they're different. And I was thinking, gosh, I'm going to have 50-year-old legs. If I'm lucky, if I'm lucky, I'll live to be 50. And I could kind of envision my 50-year-old legs and then my 60-year-old legs and my 70-year-old legs. And then what my legs will look like if I'm lucky enough to live to 80 and 90. And just I was like, wow, pretty far out. But, I was just, really deeply in the space of recognizing the impermanence of this body and the how this body it's an incredible vessel and vehicle, but it is part of the material world, which is constantly decaying, falling apart, and then being rebuilt. And I am embracing the process of aging as much as I can. I mean, I think living in the modern West, aging is certainly not something that is valued, I think, as much as it should be. And I know in other cultures, aging is valued much differently. And the process of aging is one that I was reflecting on it, and it's this process of wisening, but there's also this part of aging, which is this kind of dynamic hardening and softening at the same time. There's this hardening and this sort of crystallizing of who we are and what our gifts are, and this confidence that we start to feel in, yeah, sort of the person who we are becoming, we're ever becoming. And so there's also a crystallizing of habits and thoughts and patterns and ways we do things. But at the same time as we age, there's also this softening, this kind of dissolving of ideas and ambitions, and this softening of judgments and expectations that we have of ourselves and that we have of others. And so there's this juxtaposition between this hardening and softening that's just so beautiful. I mean, it's really incredible. And so, I've heard people say, what is it? Beauty is wasted in the youth or something like this. And, it's true, but in other ways, I am just like in awe, especially of my elders as I watch them age. And, having been in the herbal community now for over 10 years, just seeing what a decade does to a person. And thankfully, in the herbal world, aging is seen as something that is very valuable and very admirable. And I know that I look upon my aging teachers with such reverence, and watching them sort of harden and soften too, into their elder years is something that I feel so grateful to be able to have a perspective like this and a field like this, where there's not a race to try to look younger or try to capture some youthfulness that maybe was achieved at one stage in the journey. So aging is definitely something that I was thinking too, like, well, what do we do about it? Like I think that's like the age-old question, like, what do we do about aging? And the answer is nothing. We don't do anything. It's happening. This is the natural way. And my husband and I were talking about it, and it's like, one thing we can take comfort in is that we're all in the same boat, that we're all aging. It's none of us are getting out of here alive. And no matter what you might be doing to try to cheat time, it's not a winnable game. And so knowing that kind of we're all in this boat together, to me, is it just really connects me back to my heart, and connects me to others and those around me. And, while I joke and say that there's nothing we can do about it, I think there are things that we can do. There's ways to empower ourselves and take care of these physical bodies, and take care of our skin, and take care of our mental faculties. And there's ways we can take care of our spirit and our soul that is really, really important. So it's not like we should just throw in the towel. But there's an element of throwing in the towel that's actually kind of healthy. I think that's, at least from my perspective, from my studies in yoga, is that acceptance is really a part of the wisening process, and coming to terms with the material world as it is. So one herb that really came to mind as I was thinking about aging is the herb sage. And sage, it has the name, which in itself kind of harkens to the elder and to this sort of sagely person. And the word sage actually comes from the Greek word salvare, which means to heal or to save or to cure. And so there's this idea of sage kind of being a salvation of types. And being this sort of longevity herb, which it's been used for in many different cultures, in Egypt and in Greece and Rome, and in different varieties being used in Ayurveda for helping with mental longevity and also longevity of the body. And Matthew Wood, one of my teachers who I'm so blessed to study with, he talked about, when I was studying with him one time, he was talking about how that the skin or the leaves of sage look like wrinkled skin. It kind of looks like dinosaur kale, or kind of like this kind of like old kind of warbled, porous, wrinkled skin. And in the doctrine of signatures, that can point us to some of its uses. And so the interesting thing about sage is that it works differently in younger bodies versus older bodies. So in younger bodies, it seems to moisten. The resins, in younger bodies, it seems to dry, and that's because of the tannins. So it has both tannins and resins. And so the tannins, which make it a little bit astringent, really tend to dry up excess moisture and, kind of like excess phlegm and things like that. And at the same time, for older people, the resins and sort of the oiliness of the plant really seems to stand out more. So it's a very moistening herb, especially for women going through menopause. It's a really wonderful herb for keeping everything nice and juicy, as my friend Margie Flint says. And so, it's a wonderful herb, during menopause and post-menopause for women, but also it can be used for men. And I love that idea of sort of like the wisdom of the plant, being able to know in which situation do I need to call forth this chemical in me, or these compounds in me, or we could even say the spirit in me. And then at the same time, being able to do being able to figure out how to do something that is also moistening on the other end. Sorry for that. So that I just was like really just blown away by this herb and its complexity and its intelligence and how we can use it while we're in the process of aging. And it can kind of be a transition herb to help us, you know, dry out where we need to, but then also retain moisture as we need to. And there's a number of different recipes that I thought were really interesting that I wanted to share where you can utilize sage. This is just sage combined with other herbs. So for dryness and hoarseness in the throat, it was traditionally combined with peppermint and linden. For cough, it was combined with horehound and sage. For weak digestion, it was combined with yarrow and blessed thistle. And then for irregular menses, it was used combined with yarrow and motherwort. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways we can combine this plant. But also, you know, it is a liver herb. It does work on the liver. It has a bitter element to it, which you will definitely taste when you take it in. And that bitter element helps the liver to produce more bile, which breaks down fats. And also we could think about breaking down toxins and breaking down excess stuff. And, you know, as our body ages, sometimes we have a harder time with that detoxification process. And so taking something like sage, and I think sage really works best when blended. So, you know, sage mixed with a little bit of cinnamon or sage mixed with a little bit of, you know, even if you're on the dry side, mixing it with a little bit of marshmallow root, you know, you can combine it with other herbs so that you can get that, you know, get its full complexity, but also draw out the more of the activity that you want. And, you know, one thing that, my students really commented on when we talked about their sage plant diet was how it really sharpened their mind. And it helped them to kind of perceive things a little bit more clearly and, you know, cleared away some of the veil of illusion and, kind of old patterning. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing to share too. And I think that's what sages do in our lives. I know for me, having elders in my life, you know, they kind of help call me out on things that I might not be seeing in their full perspective. And they also, you know, I think hold that space of the listener very, very well. You know, often you know, I find that this is just, you know, this is just part of the age of being young and being older is, you know, you talk a lot when you're young and you listen a lot, I think, as you get older. And I feel like that's part of the benefit of having elders in your life is they really teach you how to be a listener and how to be receptive. And so, you know, if you're feeling like you need, you know, maybe you don't have an elder in your immediate environment, you can work with sage as a way to help you kind of bring in that wise elder energy to help you listen to your body and listen to the plants and listen to your environment so that you can have maybe a more full perspective of what's going on. So I hope that is interesting and helpful. Let me know, how are you doing with aging? You know, have you had any insights? You know, again, it's such a human issue and problem. And, you know, again, there's this solidarity we can feel with each other that we don't have, that there's nothing to fight. We shouldn't fight the aging process. We should support the living process instead. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing your ideas and comments, and thank you for following me. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.